We go. Hey, Anthony, how are you today?
Well, living the dream, Rich.
Living the dream.
Oh
Well,
yeah.
this is really amazing because what I do in my work with traders is watch them come from huge problems and issues all the way up through success. And you have come from probably one of the most difficult, challenging places physiologically, emotionally, financially, and here you are. So I
Yeah.
think that it could be really helpful to a lot of people if we kind of outlined the pivotal points that brought you to where you are and your process for how you can help others, given that your experience and given our work together.
Yeah, so I started in financial markets at 18. I started buying stocks, not knowing anything, and started a small business with a friend, made some money, and went to Chicago to be a $1 million trader in my 20s, or like at 20 exactly. Blew up that account in about 18 months. And through that process, definitely acquired quite a few bad habits, not only in trading but in life, regarding
Mhm.
alcohol, regarding, I was pretty much drinking most days. I was smoking a pack and a half a day. I became addicted to prescription medication to pretty much stay awake and to go to bed. And of course, pornography, women, all that fun stuff in between. Through the process, well, through the process became about 270 pounds if I had to guess at my peak. I'm 5'10", so it's not like I'm a big guy by any means. Most of my family is overweight, in a similar situation that I was in, and that continued. From that point on, I finished school. I started learning how to read the order book. I would pretty much I'd enter a trade and I'd light a cigarette. That was a routine that I'd have trading in my mom's basement. I got decent enough that a gentleman hired me to become a junior trader at a HFT firm. So I moved from Michigan to Florida to become a trader, which is an odd path, but it gave me some space from my family. From there, I began a meditation practice that was recommended by my employer. Through that practice, I actually found a little bit of space mentally. I was able to gain some awareness on what I was doing, and I was able to start slowly reeling in these habits, starting with smoking, drinking, drugs, all that fun stuff, and it
Well,
kind of
let me stop you
progressed.
there because
Okay.
this is a real pivotal point you just went sliding through. And this is the point at which you can really be helpful. You talk about your physical presence, your eating, your exercise habits, not there, overweight, emotional dependency on alcohol, smoking cigarettes as a habit. Huh. And so from there, what, and you had a meditation program. What was the critical factor that brought you to that meditation program?
My mentor and boss at the time said, "Have you ever heard of transcendental meditation?" I said, "No." He said, "Ray Dalio does it." And I was like, "Well, if Ray Dalio does it, I'll do it." So I was, being a trader, I was like, sold, I'll do it. Company
Mhm.
funded it, which was nice. So I got to pretty much, I mean, it's an interesting thing because I'd say a ceremony, initiation, I guess would be a better term in a spiritual practice like that. And I smoked a cigarette on the way there. I had to stop at Publix, which is a grocery store here in Florida, and I had to get 3 pieces of fruit and flowers and take it to a gentleman's house for this initiation. So I pulled up in my Grand Marquis, smoking a cigarette, put it out, and walked inside to a meditation, like having really no idea what I was getting into, strictly for the sake of because I thought I would make more money doing it. It was like anything else in my life. I thought it'd make me a better trader. My mentor, who I, had come to respect and really, appreciate his opinion, I went ahead with it.
So you were kind of tricked into it.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yep.
That's great. Okay, so when you went in, you still had a choice. You still had agency. I can go step back into a reactive life where I'm just reacting to habits and instant uh, reactions, or I can start developing agency in my life. What kept you there? Why didn't you just say, this is nuts. I'm leaving.
I, at the time, and probably maybe I wouldn't say still, but I would do anything to become a successful trader. And that was it. Like, it's funny how that was the thing that developed my spiritual practice. And I started doing it. When you start doing it, you have to meditate. They tell you don't miss a meditation for the first like couple of weeks or a month. So I did. And then like everything in my life, it kind of I would be on and off, and especially being an alcoholic, like the weekends I pretty much wouldn't meditate. And then back on the week, like a work day, I'd start my morning meditation practice back
Hmm.
up. I'd miss some days here and there, and that was in 2015. By 2019, I haven't missed a meditation since 2019. It's now 2025 now. So, a lot of things changed from then, but in the beginning, it was just doing it enough to, and if anyone out there has ever had a spiritual practice or a meditation practice, if you do it regularly for a couple of years, even sporadically, you will start to notice some things. And you may or may not have. I had several fairly mystical experiences even in the beginning from my first meditation, and definitely magnifying like into greater degrees since then. So I think to answer your question, to be a better trader is why I kept doing it. And then after a while, I started to get the agency and get the feedback loop of like, oh, this actually is doing something. By 2017, I had quit smoking, which is in 2 years. And actually, after I had done my first meditation, my initiation, that was the first time I remember smoking a cigarette and thinking to myself, like, I'm going to quit these. It's not going to be today, but like I could feel at least a voice in me,
Yep, ready for a decision. Yep.
like I could feel a voice in me that's like, this isn't going to go on forever. And that was the first time I'd ever felt that. And that was the first time I did that was literally the day I remember it very clearly. It was the day I got like initiated, so to speak.
So your original motivation was the boss said so, make me a better trader. I want to make a lot of money. I want to be really rich. Was there a shift sometime to more of a process rather than a goal?
Yeah, I would say being an addict, I can also have found that I can use my power for good. And like things like things like meditation, like I almost get OCD about it, where it's like, even now I'll wake up like if my wife sets her alarm for 5:30 in the morning, I'll set my alarm for 4:30 so that I can wake up and get my meditation practice done in like my way, how I like it, quiet and dark and to
Hmm.
myself. And then I'll go back to bed and wake up with her. But I won't miss a meditation. Like I won't let like anything else, like I won't take any excuse. Like now in the gym, now with training, now with nutrition, that was really the first thing that was like, this is something that I'm going to do. And like I said, in the beginning, it became a ritual just because I noticed that even in my trading, when I was, at the desk and it was in an automated fashion, but just managing the chaos of automated trading, days that I had my meditation versus days that I didn't was drastically different.
Yeah, I've noticed that with clients when they record their what we call the set scores, sensations, emotions, and thoughts. It's like you have to be aware in the moment, and those measurements show very different outcomes in terms of P&L. So people that are coming to you, you've gone through probably the deepest issues that a man can go through and come out the other side. So how do you coach people? How do you give them the vision that there is a possibilities to step into a new world of agency, taking responsibility for themselves, personal health, eating habits, and all that? When we know that, like for me, bring a pizza into the room, I'm just going to have one piece, right?
Well, a big
So,
thing that I do, and is I always meet the client just above where they're at. So if someone has never been on a diet before, I'm not
mhm.
going to be like, you need to eat 6 strict meals a day. I'm going to say, how about we eat 3 meals a day at the same time? Can we do that? Like, can we start there? And then can we make two of those meals like what I would consider healthy? Like, meaning like, let's eat. a protein, a carb, a fat
Hmm.
with that, and I'd give you just a food list and say, I want you to eat two of those meals off of this food list. That third meal, don't care what it is. If you want to have pizza and ice cream, eat pizza and ice cream. Because I know that if I can start getting someone in that first step to eating 3 meals a day, what's going to happen is that their body is like, even if they're eating that one meal off the rails, what's going to happen is their body's going to naturally start to operate more efficiently. And they're what, Yogananda, who is, Autobiography of a Yogi, is a book that's really been transformational in my life. He says people used to say, okay, so you're saying that, if I come to you and I, saying to Yogananda and do this meditation and follow your rules when I'm here with you, I can go, and he was in Los Angeles, I can go back to LA and smoke and drink and have fun with women and do all that. And he's like, you can, but I'm not going to guarantee you're going to want to after a while,
Yeah,
right?
this maps so well to my 20 years of experience as a therapist. Like I have a client who says, "Well, I should go for a run every morning." I say, "Don't worry about that. Can you just put your shoes beside the couch? Can you just do that?" Oh, yeah. So meeting the client where they are, and then just one little step that they can do. And my experience is if it feels better in the moment, eventually those good feelings start to mount. And what you said is so important. You may not want to.
Yeah, and that's really what I base the whole thing on. Like I I've been through all of this myself, and I know, especially if someone is in this industry, that they have that in them, right? It just hasn't been awakened in this fashion yet. And also, it's like in
Well,
trading,
stop for a minute. This is really important what you said. They have it there and it hasn't been awakened yet. That this is so critical right now. I want to stop and stretch that out so people really get the impact of what you said.
yeah, it's if you can go into the markets and you have the discipline to take money out of the markets and survive
Mhm.
doing it, fitness is really easy. It's just it takes a lot longer. Your feedback loop's a lot longer. As opposed to having a green day or a green week, I need like it's 3 months, right? If you give me 6 months, I'll guarantee a transformation. But it's because I know the steps will come. I know that you'll get hooked. I know that the hardest part is the first 4 weeks because you don't see it in that time. And it's also when people's skills are the worst. So when you first start a diet, when you first start working out, you're bad at all of it and you don't see the results. So people do all the right things for 3 weeks and they don't see anything. So, and then they just like quit. Well, my job
Yep.
is in that second to fourth week to keep people on because I know if I can get them to the start of the fifth week, the scale is going to drop. They're going to feel better. They're going to see the results. And then it just literally like I have clients where they don't even like, they're just like rolling. And it's just a matter of like maintenance throughout. But it's that first initial stages keeping people on when they don't
So
see
how
the
do you
results.
invite people when normally you don't get the feedback? How do you give them the feedback or how do you invite them to step into into the behaviors that serve them so much better?
The first 2 weeks, people are gung ho and they're excited and they're ready to go. And then the next 2 weeks, they use my motivation literally. Like I provide the motivation. I provide like at that point, a lot of people don't believe in themselves, but I believe in them. So that's
Hmm.
what.
Oh, that's right there. This is like I want to underline this. I want to outline it. I want it in flashing lights. Say that again.
In those 2 to 4 weeks, people don't believe in themselves, so I believe in
Believe
them.
in
I'm
them.
the
Oh my
belief,
gosh.
I'm the motivation. I literally, like, if I have to, if you have, I use video messaging, video message me. My clients have my number. If you need to text me, you need to call me. Whatever it is, that's where my value comes is in those dire weeks when it's before, in trading, you'd say you make the turn, right? It's before in that time when you're like, I'm ready to quit. But as you know, if you've made it in this industry, that's right before you're on the verge, or it's right before you turn
Yes.
that corner. If
Yes.
you're diamond mining, it's right on that next swing of the axe or whatever that like you really break through. And like I said, in that time, that's where I provide my value because it is you're not gonna. A lot of people don't want to go to the gym. They don't want to do the work. I will make sure you do in whatever fashion motivation you need to do it.
One of my theories is that we only step into a new behavior when it feels better. in the moment. So maybe you could give us a sense of how does it feel to be Anthony pre and post. Tell me, give me an invitation that feels so good I can't turn it down.
I would have never guessed how amazing the human body can feel, and also how confident I could be. Being a fat kid my whole life, I mean, it's rough. I mean, it was not fun. A lot of men I've known, well, I'll say it for myself, a lot of my anger and a lot of my addiction and a lot of my pain that I felt was from feeling insecure in my body
Hmm.
and from not feeling sexually attractive. I mean, at 27, I was losing my hair. And funny story, if you're a man out there and you're overweight, your dick gets bigger when you lose weight. I don't know if anyone ever told you that, but it's a great perk of it. But yeah, I mean, feeling good and knowing that, at the state I'm in and I've done my bulks and cuts, but at this point in my life, I pretty much stay pretty lean. I could get off the couch and I could sprint down I do. I can get up and sprint with my daughter, with my dog. Like I can move my body and I have confidence. My grandfather recently passed at 94. In the last 20 years of his life, he could barely really move around well.
Oh my gosh.
And it's just, and he was someone who started a convenience store in 1962. He worked his entire life. And I mean, at 94, he'd fall twice a week because he'd be trying to rake the leaves or shovel the snow and do all these things that he wanted to do. And seeing even, my mother and other people in my family following that same path, like I want, if I'm going to be around, and there have been moments in this where I didn't think I was going to or really want to be at times, I want to be able to move.
Yeah. Yeah. People tend to stay in their situation because they're terrified of stepping into the new world like you did. So, what adjustments did you have to make at your core identity, your beliefs about yourself, your beliefs about the world? Some of my clients, they go back to the struggle that they're used to rather than the terror of stepping into a new world. So, how did you bridge that and say, I am ready. I'm a child of God. I'm a worthwhile person to be able to step into this new world. How did you make that transformation?
Initially, I Well, I was going to a gym like any other fat guy, and I was
Mhm.
going on the elliptical, doing maybe a bench press here and there, and then walking out of the gym. One day I was walking out of the gym, and there was this new place in the back, little building, and there was rubber floors, and there was barbells, and there was chalk, and there was people deadlifting and doing all this stuff. And I'd never seen that before, well, since and when I was in high school, kind of playing some high school sports, it was very similar to that. And I walked in, I'm like, what is this? And they're like, this is CrossFit. And it was $189 a month. And I was a cheap trader who would spend way more money on food and booze than that. And I didn't want to do it. And literally for 1 month, Rich, I did a free trial the next day. For 1 month, I would open it up every day and like go to sign up and not do it. And then one Sunday night, I just clicked it and did it. And I went to CrossFit the next day, that Monday morning, and I mean, I walked in and a little English guy named Mark there, he's one of my closest friends. He was the coach, and my life changed because I started hanging out with fit people. And
Wow. So that one click, that one moment. So
changed my
how,
life.
so I'm thinking about your potential clients who are hesitating, who have had failures in the past. They don't want another failure or stepping into that world. They don't believe it's for them or they're not worthy or all that. But there's that one click that they can do. What? I'm just trying to think. What can you say? Is there anything we can do? Just have them make that one click that'll change, that will take them down a very different path in their life.
Well, like you said, the reason most people fall back to their old patterns is because they hang around the same people. What I
Ah,
pride myself on is I'll be the fittest person you know. I'm a natural bodybuilder. I've never used drugs that would enhance my performance ever, only deteriorate it. And I'll show you my blood work. It's done recently. I'm the healthiest person, fittest person, and I that's what I pride myself on. And if you're as fit as the five people you spend time around, adding me to your circle is going to make you a hell of a lot more fit just because I'm the fittest person you know.
I love that because all sorts of studies show we tend to weigh the same, believe the same, act the same, and make the same mistakes as the people in our circle. And so that's a really good point also in that if you're moving forward, you also will leave people where they are. And that's, I think, psychologically, that needs to be addressed, that it's okay to still love those people and to step into a new community of behaviors that serve you better.
Absolutely. I mean, I started hanging out with Mark. He invited me out one night. We went out, and I'm hanging out with, as an alcoholic, I hung out with the bottom ring of society. I hung out with bartenders, strippers, whatever it may be. And, hanging out with a fit group of people, we would still, even for a few years, I would still go out and most of them still drink and go out and have a good time. I don't. I haven't drank alcohol since 2019. Just genetically, it doesn't really work for me.
Hmm.
But just hanging around them. And I remember it was like 2016 or 2017, we had all went to the beach for like an overnight thing. And I was with my girlfriend at the time. And I remember the one morning I lit up a cigarette and one of my friends who was also the owner of the gym, his name was Damien, he looked at me and goes, "Why the fuck do you smoke those things?" And I didn't have an answer. And that was the next day I quit smoking cigarettes
You
just
were
because
ready.
I was ready, and the
Yes.
universe used him, who's someone who I definitely looked up to and admired, to be like, why? And at that moment, like my whole life, I had an answer of why I smoked. But in that moment, as I'm, doing this, I'm like, I don't know. And that was the last day I smoked a cigarette. And,
Wow. So just making that click, hanging around you will change your environment and change the invitation to step into behaviors that serve you better. Am I hearing that right?
absolutely. And, a lot of people are obviously remote, but for my clients, I'll go online to give me your address. I'll find gyms around you. If you tell me what you're into, I'll call them. I've been a personal trainer for 2.5, 3 years. I've been in gyms on my own for a decade. And I know what a good personal trainer is. I know where to find them. I know what a good CrossFit owner sounds like on the phone. I mean, I'll find, I go the extra for my clients to make sure that they get into that environment near them if that's what they're searching for. I have clients that work out, husband and wife at home, and they just have kettlebells and stuff like that, and still great transformations make it work. Whatever it is, we can make it work. But finding that environment, finding those fit people or creating those fit people if it's a husband and wife or whatever, like creating that connection together of fitness, or whether it's weightlifting or yoga or walking or whatever it is, it's but like getting into that community of fitness and having me kind of be your fitness Sherpa, making sure that, because most gyms aren't great. A lot of gyms are bad. A lot of personal trainers aren't very good, especially in today's world with kind of how they're paid and how, the gym structure is in big box gyms. But there are good ones out there, and I know how to find them. I know kind of the crevices that these people hide out in, and that's a big part of my job is to create that fitness ecosystem around my clients, even if we're thousands of miles apart.
Oh, that's amazing. You've got me excited now. So, so where do I click?
Well, on the web page, which you're on, if you're seeing this, or if you're on YouTube or whatever, there's a web page around there. You can purchase right from there. You can also go on there, and there is at the bottom of the page, you can schedule a consultation. And, I give away a ton of free information, which is even against most business or online coaching
Hmm.
purview or whatever they say recommendation. But I do. So, get in front of me, and, everybody's different. And just like in trading, everybody has a different block or a different thing they need to work on. And, somebody might be overweight, another person might be not overweight, but just, need to build muscle, need to do this. Some people need to meditate. Some people are addicted to food, and some people are addicted to drugs and alcohol. And, I've been addicted to all those things and done all that. So I guess the small thing I haven't done too much, but I could figure it out, I think.
Indeed. So when you've lived in the big stuff, the hard stuff, the stuff that takes most people all the way down the drain. Everything else, that process that you've used on yourself and the encouragement you've had from coaches and stepping into a new environment. It sounds like there's a multifaceted kind of approach that you can bring to your clients whereby they can feel good about every step of the way because you make it incremental and you make every step a success. Does that sound right?
Absolutely, yeah. It's entirely personal. I don't do cut or cookie cutter plans. I build everyone's program specifically for them, tailor it each week, change it each week, modify it each week. Daily check-ins. I use Google Sheets because traders I found are usually already working on spreadsheets all day
Mhm.
anyways. So it's very easy. It's a very easy thing to grasp. There's a daily check-in sheet. There's a weekly workouts. There's video messaging for any type of questions people have, and all my clients get my phone number. They can text me. They can call me. The big thing, I don't bring on a ton of people. I try to keep my network small because I give a lot to my clients, especially in the initial phases, because every plan is built to an individual personally. And in the beginning, I like people to do 6 months at minimum. And if you do it 6 months, I can guarantee a transformation because that first month we just need to get to know each other. We're going to figure things out. We're going to figure out what
Mhm.
strengths and weaknesses are. And then we have, 4 months, 16 weeks to really get after it and
Yeah.
get into that fat loss phase. And then we have a month of maintenance. Because what most people don't say in the health coaching industry is that, yeah, everybody gets these great transformations in 16 weeks or 12 weeks, but 90% revert back to heavier or revert back to the same or heavier weight because after 12 weeks, after whatever, the coach leaves and that client's in a deficit, they've just lost, who knows, 10, 20% of their body weight. And the coach pulls back and says, all right, we'll see you. Well, this is when, the hormones are kicking in to make you most hungry. It's like, your body is most susceptible to fat gain. Your body's, mentally, you're not in a place to then just be left to your own. So
Is
that
there a hump
last,
you get over whereas that eventually that critical
there's
period goes away?
Well, there's two, right? So the first is that after that fourth week, right? Once you get the skills down, you start to lose weight very easily. And most of my clients can lose weight for about 12 weeks and like be like, I can't believe this. They always tell me, I can't believe how easy this is. I'm not hungry. I enjoy my workouts. I'm not that sore. I love this. But then if you want to keep pushing, just like, it's the difference between a bodybuilder and just general people is where you stop, right? A bodybuilder is going to take that to 3 to 6% body fat, whereas most general people probably need to stop at like 10 to 15 to maybe even 20 if you're a woman. So, but that last phase of a diet, if you really want to get to the place where you can see some abs and see the muscle definition, the last couple of weeks are going to be discomfort they're going to feel the discomfort. Just like in trading, if you want to size up your trading, you're going to feel some discomfort, but you want to be in that kind of discomfort. It's good. It makes you stronger. It makes you tougher. It makes you really appreciate it. And then when you pop your shirt off at the beach and everyone's looking at you and like now you're a guy that has money and has a body, like I don't know, no one's gonna stop you. So
Well, I'm 77. Is there any hope for me or is it too late?
if I do natural bodybuilding shows and you should see like there's 77-year-old dudes that get out there that blow my mind. So I mean it's the human
Okay.
body is a crazy thing.
I have entrepreneur clients who uh, totally obsessed, 16 hours a day, compulsive working, doing all the same things, using drugs to keep them going and all that. They've got a lot to show for it, but stressed out, um, not enjoying life. So you can work with them, I would imagine.
Absolutely. I mean, and to that person that does that all the time, I would also say that, 16 hours a day of doing that, like I don't want to get too woo-hoo over here, but if you want to attract things, the worst thing you can do is chase it like that, right? Giving
Mhm.
yourself that mental space to get away from work, to do things that are going to make you enjoy your life more, you're going to attract more to your business, more to your life. Your everything's going to flow smoother. There's no flow in that state of when you're constantly pursuing something. And, and if you are, then you're pretty much just accumulating a bunch of stuff so that when you croak at your desk, your wife can have a great life with a gardener, right? Because that's usually seems to be how it happens.
Okay. Oh, so anything you want to leave uh, us with, anything that would create the invitation that feels better for the people who need it so badly?
I would say I know in this industry, and I know that, successful, especially men, have an ego, or at least like I did. And I was very hesitant. I've spent a lot of money in coaching. Just recently, I made my largest investment in coaching that I've ever made, specifically with regard to trading. And I've done a lot of, spent a lot of money on coaching, with you, with health coaches, with, bodybuilding coaches, with Olympic weightlifting coaches. And all of that pays off in ways that are not just monetary, but in ways of quality of life. And, I I don't have a short temper. I don't blow up on my wife. I don't run to the bottle every time I have a bad trading day. I don't, roll up a joint every time something doesn't go against, or every time something goes against me. I don't have to smoke a cigarette every time I get a position on. And I don't feel like the shame of doing those things. I mean, one thing I've recently observed is that I always feel a little funny on Sunday. And I haven't drank since 2019. But from that decade plus of drinking all weekend and then waking up Sunday morning and feeling shame and resentment and guilt and just terrible about the things that I did over the weekend, like my body remembers that. And
Oh,
it's
yes.
just something I realized that, like, why do I always feel like shit on Sunday mornings? And I realized it was literally
Oh,
like yesterday,
yes.
like, oh, it's because I've trained my body for so long that this is the day we feel bad. And
Oh my gosh. And to be able to step out of that, what you're bringing up right now is the physiology remembers. And to change your life in that way is you're changing your physiology. And by doing your workout and your food regimes and how you eat and take care of yourself and your meditation, that is stepping completely out of that, but your body still remembers. That is amazing.
yeah, and another thing is I watch my cousins and other people in my family that are just continuing along in the same path. So if you're out
Mhm.
there and you have kids, I didn't start meditating for me. I did it to, make more money as a trader. If you continue these things that are killing you, your children are just going to pick them up.
Yep.
I got this from my family. I inherit this is what when they talk about generational curses or whatever or past lives, well, this is it. Your kids are going to do the same thing you do. And if they see you with a beer in your hand and a cigarette and drinking away your problems and getting loud and angry, then that's what they're going to do. But if they see you working out, when my daughter works out with me in the garage, and that's an amazing experience to you know, to have her eat berries and be like, oh, these are healthy, or drink water, like water's good, like as a 6-year-old, and to learn these things and not see me destroy myself and then pick that up from me is, if nothing else, if you don't do it for yourself, do
Do
it
it
for
for
your
your
child.
kids.
Yeah, because
Oh man.
otherwise, I mean, I work with some people that, like, if they didn't work with me, they might not walk their daughter down the aisle. I had a client that came to me because he was in his 30s and he couldn't play with his son because he'd get out of winded and his heart would race. And it's like, when he
Yep.
was done working with me, he could run with his son and he could play and he could put on a weight vest and run stairs for 25, 30 minutes at a full sprint. And it's like, that's 6 weeks away, right?
So
Is
I'd like to leave with this thought. You not only, excuse me, you, I literally got choked up emotionally. You not only change yourself, you change your family and everyone around you, and you eventually change the world. So I'd like to give you an appreciation. And the appreciation is you not only take care of yourself, but you're changing future generations. and giving them a gift of health and of wealth and a great life. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Rich.
Okay, take care.